Supply lines play an important role in Helldivers 2, yet they are obscured in mystery since there are no indications of where they are in the game. As I'm sure you're aware by now, after liberating a planet fully, it allows for the attack of the planets adjacent to them. But how do you know which planets are connected? Since the game doesn't actually show the supply routes, this is a hot topic for debate, as you, the player, will need to use a third-party website like Helldivers.io or HD2Galaxy.com to see them for yourself. Don't worry, I have both of these sites linked in the description below. So let's start at the beginning. What do supply lines actually mean? Supply lines mean exactly as they sound, being the route for supplies such as weapons, food, reinforcements, and other equipment to arrive from Super Earth to the front lines. Why are supply lines important? Supply lines dictate what planets are available to be liberated, with some planets being able to supply more planets than others. For example, Meridia has now been destroyed, but assuming it still has a supply route, it opens up an attack path to Estanu and Crimsica. Now, let's have a small quiz for you. I'll put up arrows for the supply routes for Estanu in blue and Crimsica in red, and you tell me which planet will be the best in your opinion to hold in terms of the supply routes. If you said Estanu, you would be correct, because it allows access to 3 adjacent untaken planets, while Crimsica would only supply 2. Are you starting to see the importance of supply routes now? Let's discuss how supply routes affect our galactic enemies, the Terminids and the Automatons. So as of now, sadly, it seems the supply routes do not truly affect Terminids, as they seem to just attack adjacent planets to the ones they own. However, Automatons act on supply routes, so let's move over to the Automaton side of things. And I'm not too sure why we own X-45 so far into the galaxy, but there seems to be no supply routes running to this planet, so maybe we'll be safe forever? Anyways, the major order for this weekend is to liberate Wasat. So let's go over what's happening and what's the best route to take. So there are technically 2 routes of attack, but keep in mind we have a little over 2 days to complete this. So I'll put up the routes and you guys answer what you think is the best. The first route would be to start at Charbel 7 and progress to the right through Charon Prime, Martal, Matar Bay, Mesa, and finally Wasat. The second route is to take Wesen, Vega Bay, and then finally Wasat. A pretty easy choice to find what's the best route now that we know what supply chains to look at, right? Well, this also works on defense missions too. Let's look at Chopessa 4 and Charbel 7 supply routes to find out why these planets are open to attack and figure out which would be the best to attack. Because the Automatons own Charon Prime, if these are the supply routes Charon Prime has in red for the Automaton control, and I'll put the supply routes for Chopessa in blue and Charbel 7 in green, you tell me which planet do you think would be the most beneficial to have in terms of supply chain. Yeah, I'd say it's the Chopessa 4 because it connects to 4 different planets, and by controlling this, it would prevent those 4 planets from being attacked simultaneously. Awesome, now that you're a genius at understanding supply routes, let's talk about another hidden mechanic Helldivers 2 neglected to mention. During a planetary defense operation, there are many times when we were unable to save the planet in time, and thus imagine we had 80% of the planet liberated, but the automatons had 100%. Now, I originally thought that the planet liberation progress was lost after a failed campaign, but evidently it's not the case. In fact, the planets will generally lose 1 to 5% per hour, 5% being on bug planets, and seemingly around 2% for automatons, but these are dial percentages that Joel, our game master, can switch and play around with up to 20%. But assuming it's 5% on bug planets and 2% on automatons, let's have our next quiz. If there was a liberation campaign on Malevelon Creek, and we got it to 75% before failing, and also a liberation campaign failed on Fenrir 3 at 90%, after 6 hours, which planet would have the lower progress bar? That's right, it'll be Fenrir 3, as 30% progress would be lost versus the 12% progress on Malevelon Creek. Interesting mechanics, right? So, with this understanding, the community has talked about the importance it would be to have this kind of data available in-game to help players diagnose what they should do and start to strategize their next role. For example, for the unbeatable automaton re-invasion and takeover of Cyberstan Defense Major Order that we failed, some say it would have been better to not fully commit to defending one planet, but instead spread our liberation to a couple to get the progress over a blanket of planets in order to retake them via the supply routes before the 2% regeneration progress could make too much of an impact. Now, I'm not saying that Super Earth's control is unreliable, as recently they gave us a strategic guidance on the path we should take for liberation, but it would be nice to be able to see this information for ourselves, am I right? Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. There's much more to go over in terms of information, strategy, and understanding the mechanics of this whole system. However, my goal was to make sure that you understand at least the basics of the supply routes and had a touch of informational potential, knowing this mechanic could have on the overall war effort. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment if you have any questions, or if you want to brag about your test scores below. I'm Twilts, and I will see you in the next video.